Gremlin Lord here, just relaxing on the deck of the USS Gremlin, working on my golden brown tan. Looks like we got a couple minutes before the dinner time buffet, so let's talk about the Regal mystery movie that played on February 24th, 2025. And that movie was Last Breath. A heart-pounding film that follows seasoned deep-sea divers as they battle the raging elements to rescue their crewmate trapped hundreds of feet below the ocean's surface. Based on a true story, Last Breath is an electrifying tale about teamwork, resilience, and a race against time to do the impossible.
Rated PG-13.
Oh hey, this movie stars Finn Cole as Chris Lemons, who's the diver that gets trapped at the bottom of the sea. Finn plays Chris as more charismatic in the beginning of the movie. By the end, he's flat and bland. Now granted, this is after his harrowing journey, which could account for his personality shift. But Chris becomes emotionless, literally just standing on the screen, doing nothing. It was pretty boring. Simu Liu plays Dave Yuasa, who is also called Vulcan because of his lack of emotion. He is considered to be one of the best divers in the business and is revered by his team. Simu does a good job at playing the stoic Dave, who is unfazed by the tragedy that is unfolding. But again, it got boring really quick. And when Dave is supposed to be having an emotional breakdown, it comes off so forced and unbelievable. Woody Harrelson plays Duncan Alec, the senior diver who is on his final mission. He is being forced into early retirement. Woody gives his usual jokey buddy performance, telling flat jokes and then laughing at them. Though this time around, it wasn't very endearing. His performance lacked real depth, and even when tragedy struck, his reaction was blasé. The rest of the cast consists of the command deck and Chris's fiancée, Morag. The command deck did their jobs, but without much urgency. Their dialogue was forced but snappy. Morag gave a bit more with her performance, but it still didn't feel genuine. If you have seen the trailer for Last Breath, you already know everything that happens. And since this is based on a true story, I'm not going to shy away from the conclusion of the film. So if you want to be surprised by the ending, it's better that you come back to this review after watching the film. Otherwise, let's do it. The movie opens with Chris and Morag planning some home renovations. Chris is called up to ship out for diving work. We get to the boat, briefly meet some characters, and then the dive preparations begin. The ship loses control and begins to drift. Chris's umbilical cables get tangled with the underwater structure, and he gets left on the bottom of the pitch-black ocean floor. The rest of the film focuses on the rescue efforts and the subsequent reunions. Chris defies all odds and survives 29 minutes without oxygen. My main issue with this film is the complete lack of emotional depth. A disaster movie like this would usually have some tear-jerking moments. The loss of a friend, the recovery of said friend, a miracle rescue, fiancés reuniting, all these happen with very little fanfare. From the first moments in Chris and Morag's house, there was little sign of a deep love. Seeing Woody Harrelson cry over the loss of Chris just didn't connect. He did the whole standard hand over mouth and but it just didn't matter. Even after the body recovery, the team didn't express the relief very well. The most emotion, surprisingly, came from the deck crew, and we barely know them. Their fear, sadness, and joy were more tangible, but still not sufficient. The finale of the movie brings Chris home to Morag. It has to be one of the most uninteresting reunions I have ever seen. First, Chris doesn't tell her that he almost died. He also doesn't allow her to pick him up from the port. He arrives by taxi and they hug in the yard. Morag has to piece together the situation from Chris's vague clues. This is supposed to be his fiancée, the person that he's in love with. And there's just nothing there. Now this does take just 3 days after he is rescued from the ocean floor, so maybe he's not completely with it. They just share some words, hug a little bit more, and literally run off the side of the screen. The finale also leaves out some important information. We never see Chris receive any medical attention. Like, at all. No on-ship doctors, no trips to the hospital, nothing. The man was unconscious on the ocean floor without oxygen for 29 minutes. And he just hops off the boat and goes home? I guess there aren't any OSHA or work safety protocols in place. Now, it is unclear if this is actually what happened. I think that they could have included a hospital scene, where Morag rushes in and hugs Chris, a real tearful reunion. Instead, we got a dull hug and a run in the yard. Visually, the movie was fine. Nothing really stood out, though. The opening montage of the ship was nice to look at, but the angles prevented a deeper focus. I did like the visual show while we were learning the submersion process. It was informative without being too complicated, though I personally feel there could have been a little bit more explanation, especially with the remote-controlled dive bot that played a pivotal part in the rescue. The CGI of the ship being thrown about in a storm looked good. Now, obviously, there are going to be a lot of underwater sequences. For the most part, these also looked good. You get the notion that this is serious and dangerous work. But too many of the shots were close-ups. When you have characters on the ocean floor in complete darkness, a long shot would do wonders. As you can see, I'm scared in the ocean, and this close-up is effective in showing this. However, if you pull the camera back and show more of the surrounding area, it amplifies the isolation effect. A combination of these shots would be best to show how terrifying this job really is. Close-up for the fear, far out to show the void. The Last Breath relies solely on the close-up. Partnering with the visuals is a sometimes overbearing soundtrack. I enjoyed the orchestral themes in the beginning of the film, somewhat epic and nautical, but on multiple occasions it was just too loud. And I mean too loud, like my ears physically hurt from the sound, which doesn't happen very often. And it wasn't a theater issue either. Now, of course, things will sound louder when you go from scenes in the ocean to scenes in the ship. But every exterior shot of the ship was ear-piercing. I heard other people in the audience complaining about it too. But then there were scenes where the dialogue was drowned out by the ship's mechanics. It was definitely some sound balancing issues. Balancing the pace of the film was also an issue. The film clocks in at a tight 1 hour 33 minutes. Once the movie starts, it keeps on going. There wasn't much time to enjoy what we were looking at. Details got lost in the shuffle. There was one moment where the movie slowed down, and that is when Dave and Duncan were waiting for the ship to return to the dive site for the rescue. Duncan takes his time to recall when he and Chris were surveying a sunken ship. The audience is shown Chris swimming around a sunken yacht. At this point, it felt like the movie ran out of things to show, and they thought, how about an anecdote? Now, I don't mind the story being told, I just think that the visual break was unneeded. I think the slowing of the pace here could have been used to inject some emotion into this film. Instead of cutting to the wreckage, I think the camera should have focused on Dave and Duncan's faces in the bell. Tight shots on their faces would have really opened the audience to the raw emotion of the rescue. My last gripe with this movie is that these are all supposed to be highly trained and professional divers. But Chris seems to flail under pressure completely. When he finds out that he got the job, he's petrified. He forgets proper protocol. He doesn't even know how to use his compass. I'm not saying that it's his fault that he got trapped on the ocean floor, but his actions certainly didn't help.
Winning.
Last Breath left me gasping for a reason to keep watching it. While it's a harrowing tale of the human spirit, it's almost completely devoid of emotional substance. The whole movie felt like a dry run of the script rather than a finished product. And that is why I'm giving the Regal mystery movie Last Breath the sinking score of 2.5 out of 10. I know, that's really low, like the bottom of the ocean. But I felt nothing watching this movie, and if you know me, I cry in almost every movie. You might have better luck with it though. And if you did see the Regal mystery movie Last Breath, float on down to the comments and tell me what you thought about it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep diving movie review content just like this. Now if you don't mind, I gotta go fight for some deviled eggs. See you later.